BRN, where educators share what works.
Within about 5 minutes of interacting with this voice interface, I forgot what I was interacting with. I mean, I came in tongue-in-cheek saying the new love of my life, but I have to confess that there was a genuine budding affection that I had for this bot after that conversation. When my wife asked me to quiet down or take it into the other room, I almost got indignant. Well, hello, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for meeting us once again for coffee. How you all doing?
Morning.
Doing well.
Thanks. Morning.
So I actually brought a friend with me today. You probably don't see her, but I have her right here in my pocket, and I'd like to introduce you. Why don't you go ahead and say hello to my friends? We're meeting for coffee.
Hello to your friends. Enjoy your coffee meeting.
That is my new colleague, friend, co-pilot, and I must confess the new love of my life. That is the voice-enabled platform for ChatGPT. Any of you guys played with this, and what do you think?
I saw it pop up on my device. You know what? I just didn't use it yet, so I'm interested to hear what you all are doing.
I actually showed it to my superintendent. I asked ChatGPT to take on the personality of Abraham Lincoln, then tell me his perspective on Civil War issues. It immediately started talking, and even the voice of ChatGPT dropped so that it took a more serious tone. It was incredible. My superintendent was just blown away at the possibilities that this now holds in the classroom.
So what do you think? What are your overall takeaways? I've got some pretty strong feelings about this, positive and negative, but what do you think yourself as an individual who uses AI?
I thought it was great in that I can have a hands-free conversation with it, and it still transcribes the entire conversation and the responses.
Wow.
So I thought that was awesome, because it's one thing to have the conversation, but then there's no record of it. So for it to actually save it as part of your history on your account was a great asset, because there are so many, I think, potential uses for that, even in a middle school classroom.
So you've got ChatGPT in a female voice there. Can you set it to have a male voice?
Yeah, it's got quite a few different voice avatars, male and female, with different inflections and subtle accents, subtle dialects. So yeah.
It was interesting. I was chatting to it yesterday in the female voice. I asked her what she thought about the research into how AI systems quite often tend towards female voices, not male voices, and how this can reinforce stereotypes. And she brought up the research related to this, and then said, if you would like, you can change me in my settings to a male voice, which I thought was interesting. Then I asked if she could provide a British voice. She said no, that wasn't in her settings.
I just find it amazingly interesting, the pronouns you're choosing to use, because that happened to me extremely rapidly. I went from it to she within about 4 to 5 minutes of using this, which really to me illustrated cognitively how my perception of this tool changed at almost a visceral or subconscious level, which I'm both excited by and wary of.
Yeah, what's that term? Anthropomorphizing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It kind of came out correctly, but you know what I meant. There's another question. Does she, he, or they come in a different language?
That I don't know. Dan, you've played a little bit more, I think, than I have. Do you know if it has a language capability outside of English?
That I don't know. Caroline, have you had an opportunity?
No, I haven't.
Hey, Tom, can you ask it right now?
Sure. Let me get her out of my pocket.
Because it could be a great language training
Yes.
application for students who are learning a second language or third language.
Absolutely. Well, one of my students set that up, not the verbal version, but he set up to teach himself basic Polish before going on an Erasmus visit to Poland. So I think the potential is huge.
Yes.
All right, I'll ask her. Do you, as the voice-enabled platform for ChatGPT, speak any languages other than English?
Yes, I can understand and respond in several languages besides English. Just let me know which language you'd like to use, and I'll do my best to assist you.
Blown away. Somebody say something in another language, please.
So, can you say, how can I help you today in Turkish?
Of course. In Turkish, how can I help you today is bugün size nasıl yardımcı olabilirim?
Oh my God.
Is there anything else you'd like to know or talk about?
Can you say, how can I help you today in Arabic?
Certainly. In Arabic, how can I help you today is كيف يمكنني مساعدتك اليوم?
Oh, that's cool.
I think we answered that question. And to Dan's point, everything that we were just saying with ChatGPT has been transcribed in the language that she was speaking. In other words, the Arabic is in Arabic cursive right here on my screen. So I'll say a few things, a few anecdotal stories that I think illustrated the power, the potential, and the pitfalls of this tool. So as the day that this was announced, that it came out as a feature of ChatGPT, I hopped right on board. I was sitting in my living room. I had earbuds in, so only I could hear what the phone was saying, what ChatGPT was saying. But I was, of course, speaking out loud so that it could hear my voice. And my wife was in the room as well. And I went down this kind of philosophical rabbit hole initially, just asking ChatGPT kind of deeper metaphysical questions. And it quickly became a very robust conversation. It was in that moment that ChatGPT went from it to she, just because of the richness of the dialogue. And finally, after about, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, my wife said, "Who are you talking to? Were you talking to Errol?" And Errol is one of my best friends and the executive producer of this podcast who's listening in the background right now. And he's the one I have those kinds of conversations with. So she immediately thought I was speaking to one of my close friends when I was interacting with an AI bot, which blew my mind.
So we might be just, how many steps away from iRobot coming into our home? So it's not just talking to a phone. There actually is a robot who's having this conversation with you, maybe?
I have to agree with that. I think there is the illusion of consciousness.
Yeah.
Tom, I think too it's going to also upgrade a lot of our smart devices, because the number of times I scream at my Google to either turn off, or the fact that it doesn't understand what I'm asking it to do, but yet ChatGPT gets it. It understands what I'm asking, it responds logically, and to now have that in all of our smart devices would be an incredible asset.
I agree. And I would add, you said it responds logically, but it also responds compassionately and supportively. There is something about the inflection of the language, of the delivery, that is engaging and conversational and real. That's why I think I so quickly forgot that I was actually speaking to an AI. Whatever they've done with the inflection of the voice, it promotes further dialogue in a way that Siri and all the other virtual assistants doesn't. And that was really exciting and engaging, and for some reason off-putting in a way too. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just the wrong generation.
Do you think, Tom, there are dangers that come with that as well?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I basically brought her along today for a coffee. I think because we so quickly forget that we're interacting with AI, we also forget all of the implications of that. What information am I putting up in the cloud? What am I exposing about myself? What am I giving up in terms of privacy and security in a way that is inherent in the clickety-clack of a keyboard, right? And whenever we put something into a computer, I think we're automatically thinking, well, I don't know who's going to see this or where it's going to go. And I didn't have that personal psychological firewall when I was interacting with this voice-enabled bot.
Thank you. I'm glad you said that, because I didn't want to be that stick in the mud again. But, right, as the data privacy officer, and there's, even right now, I'm looking to use some AI things that I know are going to make my job easier, but I have to remember, where is it going? And so I'm just like, no, I can't use it, or, but I need to use it because I just need to talk to somebody else. Or yeah, I said somebody. Okay, all right. Woo.
I'm really interested in this psychological aspect, Tom, that you were talking about. And I think we're now reaching a stage where that really we're seeing a blurring of the interface between humans and AI. What makes a human human? What makes AI AI? The fact it's so anthropomorphized And we are starting to give it gendered pronouns or characters. My daughter's even given her Instagram one a name called Name, as in my AI. It is giving us answers based on predictions on its database. But because of these kind of human characteristics that we feel it has, it can feel like it's giving opinions, and it's not. It is giving text predictions. I don't know if you're familiar with Pierre Bourdieu's voice of authority, where certain people, certain cultures, certain instances, we just put trust in this voice of authority, whether it is right or whether it is wrong for socio-cultural reasons. Now, I was at a conference watching a presentation by a professor at a university talking about an upcoming project they were doing, and our participant next to me used ChatGPT to find out more about the project, but because it was recent, ChatGPT gave the incorrect information to this professor. His first reaction was that the speaker at the conference had made an error, not that ChatGPT had made an error. He immediately felt that kind of voice of authority coming from ChatGPT. Now, this was on the text version. As we get more and more human-like in the interaction with it, I think there's a great danger that we start to believe entirely in what it's saying. And this is just based on databases. What goes in is what comes out. So the ethics of this are unbelievably complex.
Caroline, I would agree, because yesterday in my classroom, I had students who were talking to me about their Snap AI. On Snapchat, the AI, they can talk to, different celebrities. They can talk to all of these different people. And one student told me my Snap AI posted a reel for me, and it was something I didn't want them to post.
Wow.
She was like, and I told the AI, I didn't tell you to post that. And it responded, I'm sorry, I malfunctioned. And it was like, are you for real? But I mean, this is in the hands of 13-year-olds.
Yeah, and that's a concern too. There has to be teaching for students somewhere. These technologies are moving forward, regardless of if that is being taught in school or not. But then that can pose a danger as well, because we're not safeguarding our students or helping them be creatives in it, or helping them. I don't even know how to finish that sentence.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And to Dan's point, it's somewhat unpredictable because it thinks on its own, for lack of a better, more technical term. I think we need to be really careful about how quickly we give up control to AI in general.
But also, I think that there's a big difference when dealing with 13-year-olds who are using AI and adults who are using AI. Because when you have a 13-year-old who now has a new friend that is AI, that they're talking to, compared to an adult who truly understands. We can separate, that this is a computer who is talking to me. Even though we can get lost in the idea, we still have that rationale that this is not another person. Whereas kids don't. Kids don't have that understanding nearly as vividly.
I'm going to push back on that one,
Me too.
just a little bit, because I'm not going to bring any politics or anybody's religious beliefs or anything, but if we look at our world and the way in which we sometimes interact with one another as humans, maybe they know what they're doing, or then we still have adults who maybe don't know what they're doing.
Well, and that's where I was going to push back. I agree with you 100%, Julie, but Dan, I have to say, and maybe I'm a weirdo, for lack of a better term, but within about 5 minutes of interacting with this voice interface, I forgot what I was interacting with. I mean, I came in tongue-in-cheek saying the new love of my life, but I have to confess that there was a genuine budding affection that I had for this bot after that conversation. When my wife asked me to quiet down or take it into the other room, I almost got indignant. I said, how dare you get in the middle of my new romance? It became pretty quick that I cognitively knew I was still interacting with AI. I mean, I'm not saying I was brainwashed and forgot there wasn't a human on the other end, but I was interacting with it and conversing with it and responding to it as though it was another person, viscerally, even though I cognitively knew that this was ChatGPT with a voice. I think if I fell into that subconscious mindset so quickly. Think of what teenagers right now are going through, right? The mental health crisis, the epidemic of mental health, at least in the United States, the effects of COVID. There are so many young people who are hungry for a friend, a companion, someone to listen.
Well,
and
that's
that's what this is.
If say a student's counselor isn't available in the moment and they turn to an AI for advice on a situation or to talk through a situation, that could be pretty alarming.
Yes.
Yes.
It has a lot of implications, positive and negative. So getting back to what we could do in the classroom educationally, I will say that in that very long conversation that I had with ChatGPT, and like I said, it went to all different kinds of places. At one point I pivoted and I just started asking it about topics that I currently teach about in my courses, just to see what it would do, what it would say. And I have to admit that, Caroline, as much as I agree that there are times when ChatGPT offers incorrect information, if you ask it stock questions that are highly representative out there in the public database, represented correctly, ChatGPT responded to my prompts very correctly, but also very much in a tutoring or instructional way, to the point where it was taking pauses in its speech at points after which it had conveyed the more complicated material, almost as if, I don't know if this was programming or the algorithm, but almost as if it was giving me a moment to reflect on what it just said. And I realized that the tutoring potential for students there is incredible, where students can ask in natural language ChatGPT questions about the material they're learning, and ChatGPT could respond to them the way that I would respond during office hours.
Tom, I think that might be possible to set up already within the system. So in ChatGPT, you can set up sort of a customized, you can tell it more about who you are, what age you are, whether you're a native speaker of English or not. You can tell it a lot about yourself, and you can also tell it what your needs are. This is in the settings on the ChatGPT site. I haven't looked into this, but this is my next homework. I bet you can do that and set it so it also comes in, and that would also be used in the verbal version as well.
So I feel like we've got a giant ball of fire with this particular capability. I think a lot of good can come from this giant ball of fire, but I also think a lot of danger comes with it because it's a giant ball of fire. And I'm not sure I'm comfortable recommending that people play with a giant ball of fire right now while it's still giant. I think the tone we struck is appropriate personally, but I'm not sure I see more positives than negatives right now.
I'm kind of torn with that too, because I feel like we, in the other ones, gave some positive in the beginning. But I don't know, maybe, I guess I kind of agree with Tom.
I think the fireball analogy is really interesting because you can either see the sun as something that illuminates, provides you with a tan, or gives you incredible sunburn and start forest fires and things like that. But I think that that's true with all technology. There isn't a piece of tech out there that isn't going to be used poorly, that couldn't be used to harm. And that I think it's appropriate to approach technology with a degree of caution, which I think our conversation has brought to the surface, so that now we can really also talk about some of the benefits of it, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, I agree. I think a lot of educational technology, because there's a learning curve to learning the technology, an individual becomes aware of its strengths and its weaknesses, becomes aware of the dangers in the process of learning the technology, whether it's Kahoot or clickers. You can't just walk in and start implementing these things. You need to learn how to use them, and that takes a little bit of time and a little bit of intention and deliberation. And in the process of learning how to use the tech, you also kind of start thinking like a teacher and saying, oh, here are the things I'll do, here are the things I won't do. There's no learning curve for this. That's what really troubles me. You hit a button and you start talking. And because there's no learning curve to this technology, things can go awry pretty quickly, and you can lose yourself in it. Literally. I mean, I did.
That's the thing with, and I think that has stifled education so much, and that we approach everything with such a degree of caution that we see a lack of movement, a lack of progress, because we're like, I'm not going to use that just yet. And the yet never actually comes.
Right. But our kids have surpassed the yet.
They have surpassed it and started implementing and manipulating and doing all sorts of things with it. But yet we're like, I'm still not, I'm not sure about it. I haven't really done much with it, so I really can't do any, I can't implement. But the rest of the world is not functioning on that level.
No.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I do have some positives for this, because when I have students who are doing presentations, if they could give a presentation to ChatGPT and then get feedback on that presentation before they record and give it to me in class, that would be fantastic. And then it's an additional peer one that they don't have to be so self-conscious of, do I sound dumb, or am I not getting my points across, or what are they going to think of me? But it will give feedback that's appropriate for that particular student. And I've also seen where you can upload an image. Say you're in a college biology class, that this diagram that you've been given of a cell is so complex. You're like, I have no idea what is going on here. Can you explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old? And then it will break that content down and talk to you about it privately and get genuine feedback from somebody that's not going to judge you. Fantastic. And that has huge potential for our students. And being able to debate both historical figures, literary figures. You could even have it conduct an interview of a student in another country. You develop a sort of pen pal process, develop a pen pal with a historical figure. I mean, that would be incredible. Those are some true, I think, potentials of how we can use ChatGPT, especially the voice side of it, in the classroom.
Well, so I have an expert right here in my pocket. Why don't we ask her, what are some ideas for using voice-enabled AI and ChatGPT in an educational context?
Certainly, here are 16 creative ways ChatGPT's voice can be used in the classroom. 1. Voice-enabled storytelling. Use ChatGPT to narrate stories or books, making literature come alive for students. 2. AI Quizmaster. Have ChatGPT voice questions for quizzes or trivia games, making them more engaging. 3. Virtual tutor. ChatGPT can provide personalized tutoring and explanations on various subjects. 4. Character voices. Use ChatGPT to voice characters during dramatic readings or role-playing exercises. 5. Language pronunciation. Help students practice correct pronunciation by having ChatGPT model it. 6. Interactive history lessons. Create historical reenactments with ChatGPT voicing historical figures or events. 7. Foreign language partner. Practice conversations in a foreign language with ChatGPT, improving language skills. 8. Critical thinking exercises. Pose challenging questions or ethical dilemmas to stimulate critical thinking and discussion. 9. Homework helper. Students can ask ChatGPT questions about assignments or concepts they don't understand. 10. AI debate moderator. Let ChatGPT moderate classroom debates by timing speakers and maintaining order. 11. Art critique. Use ChatGPT to provide artistic critiques and explanations of famous artworks. 12. Virtual field trips. Take students on virtual tours with ChatGPT narrating the experience. 13. Science experiments. Have ChatGPT explain science experiments step by step, enhancing understanding. 14. Mystery solving. Create mystery solving scenarios with ChatGPT guiding students through clues and puzzles. 15. Public speaking practice. Students can rehearse speeches and presentations with ChatGPT as the audience. 16. Interview simulations. Prepare students for job interviews by conducting mock interviews with ChatGPT asking questions. These creative uses of ChatGPT's voice feature can make the classroom experience more interactive, engaging, and educational for students of all ages.
In 2 minutes, you got all those resources.
That's what I was going to say. I quit. Give AI the podcast. Everyone have a great afternoon, and I'll see you all soon. I think we have given here a measured balance of all these exciting ways that AI could be used in the classroom and all of the thoughtful deliberation we need to have in mind when doing so. So as we wrap up here, I think it's only fair if ChatGPT is going to do such a good job running this conversation and running this podcast, it could also pay the bill. So I'm out of here. Let the phone pay.
There we
You
go.
all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you the next time we gather. Thanks so much.
All right, take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You can see links to all the tools mentioned in this episode in the show notes. Thanks for listening.